Where's your cold open, Jim?
War. War never changes.
Hello, ladies, gentlemen, boys, and girls. Welcome to War Never Changes, your weekly video game podcast. My name is Jim. I am joined by the co-host with the most, 50 caliber, hotel traveler extraordinaire, Phil McCracken. What's going on,
Hello.
man? How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. How about you?
A week ago today, you were the proud owner of Hopes and Dreams. Then last week, which well, we usually film on a Wednesday, we're doing this Tuesday night, so the lighting may look a little different because I'm not sitting by this big, beautiful window producing sunlight. You may recall we were very, very animated and very, very nervous about the launch of the PlayStation. Since then, the PlayStation has come and left, and now the Xbox has come and left. But I figure we'll go in chronological order and talk about the PlayStation pre-order debacle first. And I want to hear from you. I talked a little bit about it before, but I obviously omitted a lot. I wanted to save the juicy stuff for here. So I want to hear from you first. Walk me through kind of what you experienced, your thoughts. What do you think? How'd this all go down?
So, as I'm sure everyone remembers, Jim and I had multiple pages open, and I had my cell phone open, and we pretty much weren't really paying attention to each other. We were talking into the camera and kind of looking down like this because we're like,
Yep.
I don't trust Jeff Keighley. We both knew not to trust Sony or Jeff Keighley. We've both been around the block more than once. We know how this goes, especially Jim. So we were watching and like waiting, and we recorded the whole episode and nothing happened. And it seemed like the moment you turned record off, shit hit the
Yep.
fucking fan. All of a sudden, Twitter was like showing pictures of people with GameStop receipts, like, got mines. And I'm like, what the fuck? Of course, I was in a hotel last week, so there's nothing I could do about it. So I start frantically calling my family members. My wife doesn't answer. None of my buddies at home answer. Finally, I got through to my brother-in-law, and I'm like, go to GameStop now. And so he flies out of bed to go to GameStop to get us two PS5s. He gets in line at our local GameStop, and it's
Right.
almost too good to be true. There's a reason I don't do business with them, and it's practices like this which reinforce that idea. He got in line. He was one of the first people there, and the guy in front of him asked, "How many do you have left?" Four disc, two digital. I'll take them all. I need separate receipts for each. I was like, you. And there was like other people in line, and they sold them all to this one fucking guy. Um, what a piece of shit. So, and then things got a little bit better, but I'll let you take over from here.
Yeah, so three, two, one, go. Okay, we're back. Now, yes, little jump cut there. It was surprising, first of all, hearing your story that GameStop actually allowed that to happen because I thought they're really adamant on one unit per household or whatever. I guess they don't care because it's sales, but at the same time, it looks kind of bad for everybody else, especially people waiting in line. And my understanding was there weren't a whole lot of these to go around, so I'm kind of shocked that they allowed that to happen. But it just kind of goes to the list of things I don't like about GameStop. Um, what ended up working in our favor was the fact that I'm familiar with how to pre-order consoles and that mission control here, my wife's sitting behind me. We were ready. We had everything laid out. We both had our browsers open. We both had our phones up and running. And we were watching Wario and we were watching a bunch of other Twitter feeds that I follow like a hawk. Because I thought for sure, and this is exactly what happened, PlayStation would in fact go live that night. And as soon as Walmart jumped the gun, everybody fell in line. And I knew it was going to be a long night. And it was about 4 hours of sitting in front of the computer. I pre ordered one. I got your credit card. I pre ordered you one. Then the next wave came. I pre-ordered another one. Then the next wave came. I pre-ordered another one. Then the next wave came. We pre-ordered another one. All in all, we've got it from everywhere with a lot of redundancy. Major shout outs to my wife for being as adamant as she was. Best Buy site came up and went down, came up later in the middle of the night, and just magically she got up and got it. Amazon's went live. I snagged one for me. I snagged a backup for you because I just don't know how these pre-orders are going to work. Obviously, I'm going to call the rest of my friends and see if anybody wants one. But I got very lucky. I think I'm in the minority here, but I will say that I was expecting this. I was ready for what this was going to be, and I was prepared. I had all my credit card information saved. I had all of my passwords saved. I could check out in mere seconds. And by the time these things went up and I was ready to go, by the time the tweet came out, I had already bought one and I was done.
Yeah, your wife, also shout out to your wife for me as well, because she was not only ordering me consoles, she was ordering me games, accessories. She's like, Phil, do you want this? Do you want this? And it's like, didn't need to work on her little magic. And you're like, Phil, do you want this? And then I hear, he wants that. Click, bang. I got a notification on my phone that someone spent money, and it was just like going off. So
I didn't, I really thought, you work in this business a little bit, at least kind of the sales aspect of things. And there was a lot of criticism on PlayStation for not being forthcoming on release dates and not being forthcoming on release times. But Walmart is the one who controls that button, right? It's not Sony,
yeah,
correct?
correct. So
Okay.
like all the major retailers are given a heads up in advance. Hey, set your pre-order pages up. Like this is going to be the
Okay.
price, and this is when you can officially go live. And someone in Walmart, like, I don't know if you saw their tweet, but they're like, make you wait to enter the next generation of gaming? Heck no. PS5 pre-orders live now on Walmart.com. And they're like, hey, Sony, we're the biggest retailer on the planet. Fuck you. We're gonna do whatever we want. And as soon as they broke step, from the rest of the marching group, everyone else was just
Yeah.
like, everything went
Okay.
crazy.
Yeah, I had thought so. I know that Walmart has had a history in the past. A couple of years ago, they kind of blew E3 entirely by giving away everything. It was the Canadian Walmart, but they gave away the entire list of every game. They gave away release dates. They basically blew E3. So this has happened before with them. I assume it's because they want your money, obviously, and they know that this is going to be a guaranteed sale. I know that they're obviously in competition with everyone else, but I think they have to realize they're going to sell out whenever they put their stock up. But Sony took a major beating because of this, and there was a lot of very agitated people because Sony gave out information and then it turned out not to be factual. Jeff Keighley somehow got in the mix. He was somehow the spokesperson. You saw a lot of like Twitter celebrities kind of like sticking their neck out there, talking about what they saw and what they heard. And it was a very weird, it didn't go down the way I thought it would. I mean, I knew it'd be a total, train wreck, and it was. But man, it was really wild there for a while. And information was just as meaningless as it was typed. Like nothing mattered. It was just Wild West of marketing.
Yeah, I don't place a whole lot of the blame on Sony, because what can you do? Your largest retail partner, basically, in the Western Hemisphere, goes rogue. Like, what are you going to do? And of course,
Right?
Sony's going to bear the brunt of it. But what are they going to do? Punish them by not fulfilling their order?
Yeah.
Come on.
Who's going to win
There's
there?
there's nothing Sony can do about it, and Walmart knew that, and they were so brazen. Like, they were so aware that Sony couldn't do anything about it. They're like, not only are we going to do this, but we're going to send out a tweet to fucking taunt them. Like,
Yeah,
That
that
seemed
was
personal to me. Like someone in purchasing at Walmart was in a beef with someone at sales at fucking PlayStation, and someone at PlayStation said, "You can't do this," and the folks at Bentonville, Arkansas, were like,
Yeah, I mean, really, because as soon as Walmart did it, I mean, within so we finished our show recording about I don't know 6 o'clock, 6:15 or so Eastern. Um, my wife and I were sitting down eating dinner, and the first Wario tweet of the Walmart going live was around 6:25 or so. So from that point to Amazon going live, I think Amazon went live at like I think they went live at like 11 or something. It was definitely before midnight. But that whole period of time, like you saw Best Buy come up, their site crashed, they went down. Target came up, their site crashed, went down. Sam's Club came up, their site went down. Like all these vendors are like, well, if they're going to do it, we're going to do it too. I'm really kind of surprised by the people who didn't get one initially with Walmart that didn't say, oh crap, this is happening now. I think a lot of people totally checked out, and I can't honestly believe like people were just this naive to the fact that like it was happening. But in fairness, they were told something that turned out not to be true. But it created a major, major storm, and I was totally shocked. What really surprised me, and I'll transition into Xbox now, is even Xbox made fun of PlayStation. Did you see that?
"No, I didn't. I had heard rumblings, but I didn't see the tweet where they made fun of them."
So even Xbox went out of their way, the official at Xbox account, they went out of their way to say, hey, look, you guys basically can't handle it. And what we're going to do is we're going to tell you the time and the date, and we're going to make it fair for all gamers. And we're going to usher in this new generation together with you, our loyal fans. Don't worry, sleep on it. When we go live, you're going to know about it, and everything's going to work A-OK. Which leads us to today. And the total nightmare that Xbox turned out to be, starting primarily with the fact that the pre-orders didn't go live on the time they were going to go live. Walmart site crashed almost instantly. Target site crashed instantly. Amazon didn't list their prices for about an hour until after the initial window went up. And their own Microsoft store, the official Microsoft store, their site went down almost instantly, which then created a huge kerfluffle as well. So nobody seems to have been able to figure this thing out. Not even with your own infrastructure. Forget Walmart, forget Target, whatever. What do you think about that?
Well, Sony's invitation only page went down as well, I believe. So they're on equal footing there. But I
Yeah,
feel like
agreed.
Xbox handled it better because for the most part, what they could control and what they said was going to happen happened. They said 8 a.m. Central or whatever Pacific,
That's a good point.
11 a.m. Eastern, and that's when everything happened. And you know what? Unfortunately, Microsoft can't control the fucking web traffic or whatever. They can't
Right.
control anyone else's website except for theirs. And maybe they just weren't banking on like I feel like I feel like this whole PS5 thing got everyone up in like a tizzy, and they're like that that desire to get in on it, and the fear of missing out, and the need for a victory. I think that whipped everyone up into a frenzy, and it created something that Xbox wasn't anticipating. They tweeted that there's record sales numbers, record
Yep.
demand. And
Yep.
I just don't think that they were anticipating that. And that's not an excuse because they can control the infrastructure on their own Microsoft website, and they
Right.
didn't prepare for it. Um, I
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Do you think that the lack of being able to get a sale on PlayStation bolstered Xbox's numbers in the sense that people are like, "Well, I'll take what I can get at this point. This is the real deal." Like, do you think that helped out a lot?
Oh, of course it did. And think about all the people who were artificially pissed off at Sony for literally no good reason. And like, what
Yeah.
does a pissed off consumer with a spare $500 do? Well, the other console's available. At least I'll get a chance at that one. And like, I was reading comments on Twitter and Facebook, and it's like, well, I couldn't get a PS5, so I bought an Xbox. It's like people are settling for this, but they're settling in record numbers. And I don't think Microsoft give two fucks about how they get their sales. They're getting their sales. And I don't
Agreed.
know if you saw, actually, I don't want to segue to that because that's huge news, and you probably want to talk about that in a different segment. But other parts of Microsoft had some pretty big developments, and they bolstered their numbers in another very lucrative area for themselves massively. And
Yes, and I'll talk about the acquisition and some of that other stuff in a minute, but wrapping up with the console pre-order nonsense. I can't imagine this have gone any other way. It just seems, despite the fact that you have these monster websites with thousands and thousands of throughputs, it seems like when it comes to payment information and the amount of systems that have to marry up together, whether it be PayPal or credit card or logging in, making store accounts, whatever, we're just not there. 2020, despite the coronavirus, despite a lot of people like myself pretty much staying at home now, our infrastructure just can't handle this. And when you have this many savage, nerdy gamers like me and you, feverishly refreshing these sites, blasting out links, trying our hardest to get a console, these things just buckle. So I'm happy for the people that got them. I'm not going to say that those that deserve to get them got them. I think it was definitely a luck thing. I mean, I was as prepared as I could possibly have been, and it panned out for me. But I suspect there's other people who did exactly what I did and probably weren't as lucky.
were you able to secure an Xbox pre-order today?
Twice. Just for kicks. So it was funny you say that because I have had and still have no desire for an Xbox. I would love a collector edition, Halo or Gears. I will take one of those. But no, I have no desire to get one. And I just wanted to see how hard it would be. So I used all my same tricks that are like my trade secret tricks. And I waited until the exact moment they went live. And within 30 seconds, I had one at Walmart and I immediately canceled it. And about a minute later, not a minute later, Amazon went live. I don't remember when Amazon went live. It was like 20 or 30 minutes later. They were later today. Maybe it was the 55 minutes one. I don't know. I'm getting the two mixed up. But when Amazon went live, I knew what the direct link was. And I picked it up even before Wario or anybody even tweeted it, and it worked.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, son. And then my wife called me. She was out at the store. And she's like, hey, I just to see if I could do it, I got one from Best Buy. So I guess actually three, but they're already all canceled. They're gone.
Yeah,
I've released them into the wild, catch and release.
yeah, I tried 4 different times throughout the day after 11 a.m. Eastern, and I didn't get a single one. And this is like Wario tweets it out, Sam's Club is back up. I touch it immediately. I already
It's
have my
gone.
phone in my
Yeah.
hand, and it doesn't work. So, if you were to pick a winner, now wrapping this segment up and just ending it right here, if you had to pick a winner for pre-order, who would you pick?
Do you mean what? Do you mean who between PlayStation and Xbox, or do you mean what vendor?
PlayStation and Xbox. We know Microsoft.
I honestly think Xbox, despite the fact that they basically announced the date and time, which allowed a lot of bots to be set up to ready to go, I think more people who legitimately wanted one had a much better chance of getting it than PlayStation. And I would have been okay with a lottery or a raffle system like GameStop did today for their Xbox. And I think that probably would have been the most fair thing to do, leave it to random chance. But instead, people like me and people who have bots probably scooped them up long before anybody who legitimately wanted one had a chance.
Yeah. Um, I would say if I had to pick an overall winner, it would be Xbox just because I feel like their fans were more satisfied and they did a better job with it, even though I don't feel what happened to Sony was Sony's fault. But just
Right.
like straight up between the two of them, I'd say that they're both winners because they had an allotment ready for pre-order and they were gone. They didn't even have to wait two
Yeah.
minutes. They waited 1 minute,
No.
and how many millions of consoles got sold in that 1 minute? So they're both winners. And because they're releasing
And
the next generation of console gaming, we are winners.
so, funny little segue into Bethesda, but before we get there, speaking specifically of bots, did you see the news that Rachel actually told me about this? I didn't see it, but I read the article later. The sale of the Xbox One X, not the Series X, the Xbox One X, is up 732% today.
I wonder why.
So the theory is people's bots were programmed incorrectly. If you went to Amazon and typed in Xbox pre-order or Xbox One Series X, the top link was to the Xbox One X. And I suspect a lot of people were all sitting back, high and fat on the hog, like, oh yeah, we're going to get this. And then they bought 100 One X's because their stupid bots were programmed incorrectly. And I thought that was hysterical. It was funny.
Score one for the good guys.
So yeah, I suspect we'll see that number drop off very rapidly. So I do agree with you that partially the Xbox did so well because of Sony's broken release and the hype. But I also think, probably even more so, the reason that they did so well was the news that made me blow my goddamn mind this week. That Xbox now owns this podcast, War Never Changes, sponsored by, what was it? What do we say?
Hamo.
Hamo? Hamo. Hamo Brothers Real Estate.
No, it's Hamo Brothers Construction Consulting.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, and they pack in the value. That's right. That's exactly right. Yes. Hamo Brothers. Well, the joke obviously there is war never changes. But because that's obviously the tagline of one of the best games of all time. But I legitimately lost my shit when I found out about this. And I didn't even find out at first. I was sitting at my computer doing work, and Rachel came running in and she's like, holy shit, did you hear the news? And I'm like, what news? And she told me, and I was just like, oh my God. I was blown away. And I started texting my friends. People were calling me because they know how much I love Bethesda. But what did you think, man? Tell me, like, what was your thoughts? Like, this is a big, big deal, dude. Big deal.
Well, PS5 folks, I hope you didn't want to play Elder Scrolls 6.
That's right. So, yeah, man. No, you're right, dude. They paid $7.5 billion with a B, almost a little more than 3 times than what they paid for Minecraft. To put it in perspective, I think Disney bought Star Wars for $4.5 billion.
What's more important is that Disney bought Pixar for $6 billion.
Okay, sure. Yeah, they're a big company too. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like when you look at the magnitude of the sale across other entertainment vendors or services or whatever you want to call them, big deal, dude. So let me ask you some questions then about this. Number one, do you think that they overpaid?
No, I do not.
So I think it's fair to say that Bethesda has had a rough couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Fallout 76 was a critical failure.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've probably recouped a lot more money than we think they have due to the microtransactions in the game. But the overall hype for it definitely low. And since all the DLC is included, there's no add-on like they did with Fallout 3 or 4 with additional content and stories. Doom Eternal, while I think critically successful, was definitely not commercially successful. I didn't like the game at all. I actually still haven't beaten it. It was not the Doom sequel that I think many of us wanted. Deathloop has been delayed. Ghostwire Tokyo has been delayed. I don't really see anything that Bethesda has done in the last couple years, honestly, that has made people go, yes, Bethesda's back.
Mm-hmm.
So I think their values drop significantly, and I would argue 7.5 billion is way too much.
Oh, okay. So if we want to put this in numbers that we can understand, um, Jim is going to represent in, let's say in this scenario, Jim is going to represent Microsoft, and a
Okay.
Ford Explorer is gonna represent Bethesda. So Bethesda was purchased for $7.5 billion. Overnight, after the news was released, the Pass Plus or whatever, Gold, whatever, the people who can play on both computer and console,
Ultimate, yes, Game
yeah,
Pass
Game
Ultimate.
Pass Ultimate subscriptions went from 10 million a month to 15 million a month, which means an additional revenue stream per month of 125 million dollars. 7.5 billion divided by 125 million is 60 months. So basically, they went out and financed a car for a few years. And in a few years, let's say that that sales number doesn't grow at all, which it will continue to grow. They will have their
Agreed.
investment back in 60 months, which in the grand scheme of Microsoft, who has billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars in revenue, probably shit that we don't even know about through companies they own that we're not even aware of, that is nothing.
Right.
So, is it a huge number? Yes, but um, it's going to prove to be a winner for them in the long term. They will, I'm going to say that they will recoup their investment in less than 48 months.
You know, it's one of those things when you put it that way. I know with finances, definitely the old, you got to play to win kind of thing, and you got to have money to make money. I would, in never in my wildest dreams would I even think that Bethesda was for sale. And when I say Bethesda, just for the few people out there who like to write snarky comments on our channel, I know it's ZeniMax slash Bethesda Game Studios, but it's Bethesda to me. I just wanted to point that out. But I'll tell you what, I would have never thought they were even for sale. I knew they were struggling in some sense. I'm not saying I thought they were going to fold overnight. They're too big for that to happen. But they have, the last few years have been rough. I mean, even dating back to Quake Champions, Rage 2, a lot of their games just haven't really had that oomph that the old Bethesda did. And I think you really have to go back to probably Fallout. You see, Fallout 4 didn't even receive very good ratings. I mean, we going back to Skyrim? I mean, like, seriously, like, their last few games, probably the last half dozen, they've kind of sucked.
Dude, Skyrim sold more copies than like a lot of games. Skyrim is a
Agreed.
massively
Agreed.
successful game. And it's too bad that like this whole time when they've been suffering, they don't have like a storied franchise that they could fall back
I
that
know.
they could just fucking
They
release to the world.
I mean, I think Elder Scrolls Online is phenomenal. It's definitely generating a lot of revenue for them. But really, outside of that and that probably small stream from Fallout 76, I think they've been probably losing money pretty rapidly. I really do.
Good, they deserve it.
Um, well, that's why I say I think Microsoft overpaid. I don't think they're worth that much. I mean, yes, to me they're priceless because I love Arcane so much. But yeah, they have a big collection of games now to work off of, and I'm really excited for what happens next with collaboration. My first thought, obviously, you now have Obsidian partnering back with Bethesda proper, which means Fallout New Vegas 2 is definitely on the table. I wasn't a big fan of the first one. I know I'm in the minority here, but that was my first thought is we could see that come back.
Hmm.
I've seen a significant amount of fan art of showing a shooter with the Doomslayer back to back with the Master Chief.
Hmm.
There's a lot of crossovers now that I think are possible in ways that they weren't before. And I think when you look at all of the franchises that Microsoft owns and all of the franchises that all these other games now with Bethesda merging with them or being bought out, whatever, you could see some really crazy collaborations. You could see I'm making this up, like a Fallout Forza racing game. You could see some sort of flight simulator crossed with, I don't know, Prey or something. Like there are so many possibilities now. It's insane. And I hope they don't just play it safe. And I hope they mix things up a little bit because Bethesda definitely needs that right now.
Yeah, and let's also caution ourselves in our line of thinking about what Bethesda's relative value is, because as outsiders we don't have any insight as to what's going on, and
Right.
Microsoft does. So Microsoft may know of something coming around the corner sooner rather than later that would have jacked their valuation up even further. So if
True.
we look back at Pete Hines' statement, at some point in his stupid fucking diatribe, which I heard in his awful, stupid, arrogant voice, he does mention, when are we going to get back to conversations about where the fuck is Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6? And he lists like kind of three games in order, and then he says, I'm looking forward to sharing more details about all of these projects and more in the coming weeks, months, and years. And I know that that's probably just a huge overreach on my part, but he used the specific term of weeks. And to me, this all is kind of lining up perfectly. So I wouldn't be surprised to hear that maybe Starfield or Star, whatever it is, I believe it's called Starfield, is coming sooner rather than later, and then the next major release after that has already been said to be Elder Scrolls 6. So who knows? Within the next 24 calendar months, they may have been releasing these two major games, and their valuation could have skyrocketed up over $10 billion, and they wouldn't have been hurting as bad. So maybe Microsoft got the deal of a lifetime, maybe they didn't, but they're going to recoup their investment, and they just added to their own catalog immensely, and
Yeah.
they're jacking their users up. So I say they're a winner. If they overpaid a little bit in the short term, I say they're a winner.
I do agree with you. I think it was a huge get. I think way more lucrative, way more wrap a bow around it than what Warner Brothers could have been with a potential licensing nightmare they had. The fact that Bethesda owns all their works and now Microsoft owns Bethesda, which subsequently owns all their works. Without any nonsense licensing, you don't have to get involved with J.K. Rowling from Harry Potter. You don't have to get involved with Warner Brother or with DC in terms of any of the Lego or the Batman games. You have Lego on top of that. This is a way better investment because I remember a couple of weeks ago I really thought Warner Brothers was about to get bought out. I think this is a much bigger get. PlayStation already had a couple deals in place that will be honored. They're going to get Deathloop as a console exclusive 1 year first. They're also getting Ghostwire Tokyo, a console exclusive 1 year first. And I had read, which gives some potential merit to your statement, that PlayStation was actually in talks with getting Starfield as a console exclusive as well.
Hmm.
And this was swept out from under them because they got bought out. And obviously, the Microsoft's not going to sell rights to their competitor. So you may be right. There might be more coming than we know of. What really excites me a lot, and this was something that Todd Howard talked about in his blog post, and he's done a couple small interviews since then, is Elder Scrolls 6, he said, is undergoing the most radical software engine upgrade ever for them, which it needs to because their engine is very broken. Microsoft, right?
Have you ever climbed
It
a
really
vertical
is.
mountain on a horseback?
Exactly, right? Have you ever walked through a wall before or put a bucket on somebody's head to steal from them? So here's the deal, though. Microsoft has been investing heavily in this Slipstream engine, which we saw featured prominently with Halo Infinite. Needed a lot of work, but but you got to remember that like Gears is running on a modified Unreal Engine, and I suspect you're going to see a lot of synergies on what I'd call like the back end, not the creative side, but the engine side in the background. I think Microsoft is going to bring a lot to that discussion. And I think you're going to get a lot better Bethesda games as a result of that because I think Microsoft, maybe their content isn't the best, but you got to say, you look at like Halo 5 Guardians, you like the story or not, that game ran very well. Gears of War 5 runs phenomenally well. So Microsoft knows how to put together a game engine, and I think you're going to see some really good things in the future. That's what gets me more excited than anything else.
I can't wait for the first Elder Scrolls Easter egg that I see in Halo Infinite, and I can't wait for the first Halo
Yes.
Infinite Easter egg I find in Elder Scrolls 6.
So I'm wondering
He's
now,
salivating, people.
yeah,
Look at him. He's salivating thinking about this.
here's the question though. If you're Xbox, do you say to PlayStation, screw you guys? we're going to keep everything here? Or do you license your games out and say, hey, you know what? We'll give you Elder Scrolls 6. We'll give you Starfield. We'll give you. What would you do in that situation? Because PlayStation's playing dirty. And they've been doing this for a while very successfully. And when you're on the winning side, it's great.
Yeah, well, they've been playing dirty up until Microsoft decided to like stand up from the couch and be like, "Hey, that's enough. Let us just drop $7.5 billion casually on a Monday.
Yeah.
Take it easy, Sony." um, I think that that was such a total boss move. But what would I do in that scenario? Let me answer that in two different ways.
Sure.
If Microsoft's true end game is for this to be the final two consoles that they produce, whatever besides whatever the mid-generation upgrade they spit out, Xbox Series X, Type X, whatever the upgrade to the Series X and S are mid-generation, these are going to be the last two foundational consoles that they released. If that is true,
Right.
I say go ahead and license the games. If that isn't their ploy and you're looking to continue to garner console specific loyalty, what I would
Yeah.
do is all new Bethesda games are going to come with a fucking timer, whether or not it's a year or 2 years or whatever. These are going to be console exclusives, exclusive to Game Pass and physical disc. Um,
Yeah,
and
that'd be insane, man. I would love to see them do that, and I say that knowing that it's going to hurt some of the audience of people who are solely on one side of the fence or the other. But the only way these companies get ahead, honestly, is to push the other company to do things like this. And you look at PlayStation giving all those free games away as part of PlayStation 5 would never have happened if Game Pass didn't exist. Would never have happened. They wouldn't have done it. So PlayStation saying we're buying exclusive rights, we're getting it first, you want it, you come here and get it, we're going to make it the best experience possible. I want Xbox to do that back. I know that might hurt gaming as a whole, but I'll tell you what, I want a good experience than a purist. I want to have brand loyalty, and I want companies to fight for my dollar, and that's when I'm going to see the best gains.
well, if nothing else, if it was just a dick measuring contest, Xbox clearly won. And now
Oh
they
yeah,
put Sony on notice that like you're gonna behave and you're gonna play nice. We've been trying to play nice with you with our tweets and everything, and you've been
yep,
ignoring us and you didn't want to play nice. Now you will play nice or else. And
or
that's at
else.
the very least of what could happen. And if Xbox is really pissed off and they say, "Hey, GFY," that could be really bad for Sony because Sony does not have the resources or the reach to pull a move that
No,
matches or exceeds this. This was probably the most significant acquisition in the history of video games.
I would agree. Maybe no. I was going to say Nintendo buying out Sega, but at that point the
Oh,
war was over. I
oh,
think I would tend to agree with you. I think this was a big deal. So three. It's funny as we're talking. I'm always on the internet on the other side of the monitor looking. IGN released three simultaneous news articles. The first one says the Elder Scrolls 6 may be an Xbox exclusive. Microsoft is beginning internal discussions on how to lock down future games as Xbox exclusives. The second article, Todd Howard will be sticking around. His contract was renegotiated and he received a significant bump in pay, so he's not going anywhere. How interesting would it be if Todd Howard starts helping out on Microsoft products?
that would be cool because he is the lore master behind Elder Scrolls and he is a fantastic mind. It would be interesting to see him step into Phil Spencer's position when Phil Spencer eventually goes away.
I was just getting ready to say, I mean, Phil Spencer is definitely on the younger end of the spectrum, but at some point he's going to leave, and you got to wonder who's going to be his lieutenant or who's going to help pick up the pieces of a broken Halo franchise, who's going to help pick up the pieces of a broken Gears of War franchise. It might be Todd Howard.
Dude,
Dude, that would
if
be
Todd
insane.
Howard steps in as the CEO of Xbox, it's all over. It's all over. At that point, they have too many financial resources, and at that point, they would have far too many creative resources. And
Yeah,
I,
man, that's
I
nuts.
don't know what Sony does to retaliate because,
Cry.
Yeah,
Spider-Man. I don't
I
know.
mean, you can only count on loyalty for so long. But if, like we've said, we've been shitting all over Xbox. If you don't have the
Yep.
first party games, it doesn't fucking matter. And guess what? Maybe Phil Spencer has been watching our podcast. He's like, you know what? These guys are
He
right.
is.
We need to
He
do
does. He
something. And
comments.
then it's we are the reason that Xbox has renewed its fire and bought
It
Bethesda.
is.
It started right here,
It is.
guys.
Hey, Phil, can I call you back? All right. Sorry. Yeah, you're right.
I'm Phil. I'm right here.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was Phil Spencer.
Oh.
Sorry. Sorry. The last piece of news, and then we'll jump off of this. Warner Brothers influences the buyout. Microsoft was set to buy Warner Brothers, and AT&T passed at the 11th hour. This radically shifted Microsoft's plans. So, in an alternate universe, AT&T got their heads out of their asses, took whatever pennies they could get for Warner Brothers, and this never happened. Could we have seen a future in which Bethesda was for sale and Sony somehow scraped it together or worked on a collaboration? It's hard to say. I mean, but this, I don't see, I don't ever see Ubisoft being sold anytime soon. Their games sell far too well right now.
This
But this was kind of like the last big obtainable company. Honestly, I really think so.
this didn't happen overnight, Jim. If they were going to buy Warner Brothers, they were
No,
also going to buy Bethesda because you have to remember Bethesda is publicly traded. They have stockholders, they have shareholders,
they do.
and you have to go through an SEC filing. You have to go through all the fucking competitive whatever nonsense with the government. So that you don't have monopoly, you have to go through the shareholders and get all this shit approved.
Yes.
This doesn't happen in the span of a week. So this deal has probably been getting kicked around for at least 6 months, and it's been a serious path of inquiry for, I would say, at least 2 calendar months. So there was an alternate reality, yeah, but there was no reality other than Microsoft purchases Bethesda. It was just Microsoft purchases Bethesda and Warner Brothers for a combined $10 billion and just shuts shit down.
I wonder. I do agree with you. There's definitely more of the business aspect that I'm not as familiar with, but you're making valid points, though. But I do wonder how much of this was like, really maybe seeing the deal with AT&T to buy Warner Brothers wasn't going in that direction, and them saying, "Well, we got all this money. We've already agreed to spending X amount of dollars. Let's just go a little bit bigger and go a little bit harder." And we're kind of already there. We've already made the business case. The boss is opening up the bank already. Let's just ask for a couple more bucks and let's just really shut this down. So I wonder how much of that did play into their minds, or if they really did plan just to buy
Yeah.
everybody. I mean, that's, you can't beat them, buy them, right?
Yeah. I'm definitely also, I've changed my mind. I'm definitely going to buy an Xbox Series X now. It's just when, because I'm not going to buy one that's not a special edition. How cool would an Elder Scrolls 6 special edition? Uh,
Right?
I'd buy two.
Or a
I'll buy two.
Fallout.
I'll have two special edition Xbox One Series X's. I don't care. I'll have the Halo and I'll have the Skyrim or the Elder Scrolls 6 one. Just give it all to me, baby. Give it all to me.
Understand that right now, this deal happening overnight, obviously, if there are going to be any new collaborations, you're not going to see them till probably 23 at the earliest. Unless, Starfield, as you mentioned, is really close and Microsoft is now going to throw an extra 500 employees at it and they're going to finish it in a year. I don't know. But yeah, I think by the time this starts to make sense in terms of a game output, in terms of us being excited, and I'm not talking about them just opening up the catalog on Game Pass because we already have all these games anyway. I don't need them again on Game Pass. But in terms of when that collaboration happens, we'll be a couple of years into the life cycle of this console, and that's when you're going to start seeing collector editions come out. You may even see your Xbox Series X.5 or whatever the hell we're going to call it. That's like the next bump up, kind of like what we saw this generation. And what better way to get people excited than those collector edition consoles? So I see it happening. I am with you, and you may very well own a Bethesda console, which is fucking nuts,
Dude, can you imagine?
right?
Oh,
I
I'm
know, man.
so
I'm
excited.
stoked.
I wonder how long this generation will be. because the last one was roughly 7 years. I don't know how long the Xbox 360 generation was. I think it was around
Yeah.
between 5 and 7 years. But the evolution of technology has been so massive, and we're taking leaps and bounds so quickly. I wouldn't be surprised to see this generation only go 5 years, and then we're on to the next thing.
And with this console and this, or with this acquisition, rather, Xbox's plans may have radically changed. They may have thought the same way we were. Hey guys, the writing's on the wall. Let's just develop software. This might turn the needle, and then they're probably thinking, hey, you know what? Like, we actually got a chance at this. Like, we're not out of this just quite yet. Like, we're not ready to throw in the towel. All that negative press, it changes in in an instant, flips, instantly. Suddenly, we're talked about in a positive light. Look at all the cool things we did, and look who's in our back pocket.
Yeah.
Moving on to things that weren't nearly as cool. And I'm going to start with this one, and then I'll get your thoughts on it. We're bringing back an old segment called What You Playin'? And we collectively agreed that we wanted to highlight Super Mario 3D All-Stars. I think Mario Odyssey is a piece of shit. I want to hear from you.
Oh, I haven't played it yet. I've been bouncing back and forth between Mario 64 and Sunshine.
Okay, we'll start with Mario. I'm going to take a step back. I think Mario 64, this iteration of it, is not handled very well.
No, they really didn't do it justice, did they?
So they did this up-resing thing. I thought I had heard on their Nintendo Direct that they were going to extend the screen.
Yes,
It still has borders on
it
it.
does.
Mario constantly flips between old Mario and new Mario. I don't know if you've noticed this. I can recreate it successfully now, which means I could explain to you how to recreate it. But there will be times you are playing and it's like the up-res Mario, and then like you'll turn really quick, and for like a second, he looks like a blob because he's like N64 Mario, and then he looks back like new re-res Mario.
Yeah. Well,
It's incredibly
the
jarring.
new re-res Mario just looks like a slightly less shitty version of the N64. You know what I mean? But they're not selling
You're right.
like they're not selling this game based upon like some graphical improvement or whatever. They're selling it based on nostalgia, which is an incredibly powerful motivator.
It is.
So
It is.
I mean, are you having any less fun with it than you did the first time?
See, now I really do enjoy Mario 64. I have played that game many, many times, and this is still a great run for me, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I think the controls are great. I think the long jump is great. The back jump is great. Like Mario's mobility is still, to me, like it's so good. And I love the themes. I love the levels, even though they're kind of cheesy and, but they're still fun. And you're right, it's nostalgia. So I don't really have any gripes with that. I knew going into it wasn't a remaster, it was just a re-release. So I expected it to not look great, and I wasn't thoroughly disappointed when it wasn't. So I'm not too upset about it. I haven't yet played Galaxy, but Odyssey, I'm sorry, not Odyssey, Mario Sunshine I have played, and I can't stand it.
Why?
It's bad, dude. Like, it's so reliant on you hovering with that dumb jetpack.
Uh, Disagree.
The long jump is gone. The back jump is gone. Crouch is gone. You have a dedicated button to switch between a booster on your jetpack and squirting in like this weird third person to shoot water in enemies' mouths. The mobility is slow. The level design is great. I love the level design. It's nice and big and fun and bright and colorful, but the controls are painful. And in those levels where you have to do those challenge maps where Evil Wario or whatever the hell his name is, Shadow Mario, when he steals your jetpack and you have to beat the level on your own, you really see how bad this game is and how much of a crutch that jetpack actually plays in the gameplay.
You're wrong. It's a great game. Fantastic. 10 out of 10. What do you want from him? You want him to do like back jumps and shit with like presumably a 50-pound fucking like hydraulic pump on his back? Like,
Why would? What is? Okay, let me ask you this. a definition of a good sequel. A sequel, because that's what this was. You revolutionized Mario with Mario 64. This was a sequel to Mario 64 in its own right. Why would you consider a good sequel to take away moves that you had in a previous game? Why would you ever do that?
Okay. Do I want either A, the same Mario game time after time after time where you jump 3 times and you jump slightly farther or the long jump, or do I want a
Yes.
fucking jetpack? I want a fucking jetpack. Fuck you, Jim. Fuck you.
If it was so good
Fuck.
that they dropped this idea like a hot potato, never did it again. They brought back all the moves from Mario 64 into Mario Galaxy, into Mario Odyssey, and then added more of them. This was just a weird prototype game that maybe they ran out of time and they're like, well, we'll just put Mario's face on it and we'll make it a game, but it doesn't have that Mario charm at all, and it definitely does not have that polish. And you know I'm right.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's like when you came out when you were born. They took one look at you and they knew you were kind of fucked up, but they were getting old. They ran out of time, buddy. So they took what they had and they did their best, and it turned out to be kind of a piece of shit. But it's a functional piece of shit.
Here we
It's
are.
fun. It's fun to play.
They said, well, we did the best we could, and look, I did the best I could with what I got.
Oh my God, it's so mean, but I'm so glad I said it.
Savage, savage, savage. Yeah, really, like, I just think to just the movement of it, it doesn't feel like a Mario game. The controls, the really everything. It's so different than any other 3D Mario game we have to date. It really
And
is.
that's why I like it because it's
Fix
it's
my
a
thanks
small
for you.
departure.
There we go.
It's a small departure from the status quo, and I enjoyed playing it. And yeah, I noticed that you fix that. It's a small departure from what I'm used to, but the generation before that was a blast, and I could always go back and play that. And then the generation after it in Odyssey was a fun game that I enjoyed that I could go play if I want a traditional Mario move. So you know what? I just kind of take Sunshine as it is, and I have fun with it, and I love like the bright, vibrant colors. I love the interactions in the world. I like the controls. I like the jetpack. So, I mean, I guess we just have to agree to disagree, and that you're trash and you're wrong.
Well, it's cool that Nintendo is bringing this back, I guess. I wish they'd done more with it. I understood what it was when I bought it. I know that there's other remakes probably in the works, or remasters, or whatever the hell we want to call them. I think nobody asked for this. I mean, I understand it's Mario 35 and blah blah blah, but I think had they kind of taken some more due diligence and made this game great, it would have been way more fun.
Mm,
Instead, we just have an okay game.
Okay, yeah, no, I maintain that you're wrong, trash. But that's just my personal opinion. And I was asking for it. I've been asking for a re-release of all three of
And you
these
got it,
games for
baby.
a long time. So did they do the best job they could with them? No, but they got my
No,
$60,
should
and
have
they knew
not.
they would.
Yeah, no, the fact that this is a timed exclusive game, the fact that it's just building up hype for it now, the fact that they have this little challenge thing going on where if you play levels, you can get like pins and little swag and little missions, and it's building up the excitement, and that's what Nintendo's good at, building up the hype. And yeah, I agree with you. I think it's in an interesting place, and I'm happy for it, but I know it could have been better.
Yeah, I'm in like I don't know unless Sony buys Nintendo.
This is what we get. All right, man. Well, is there anything else you wanted to touch on this week? Any other games? Any other hot news, hot takes?
Love to touch on you.
So, no. All right. Well, with that, get in line, Phil. Get in line. So, with that, I've said my piece. I think in talking with you about Bethesda, I'm more excited, I think, about it now than I was when I first heard about it.
Yeah,
Like, my mind is continuing to race of ideas and consoles and crossovers and that sort of thing. So, and I mean, we were there, dude. You came up with a brilliant name for the show. War Never Changes. And now I feel like we're getting the boosted marketing we need. It's like free advertising.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Well, as tradition, I've said my piece, and now, sir, I defer to you. Goodbye for me, and you, sir, have the.
You know, this tit for tat with the console wars has been going back and forth a long time. And just as console wars never changes, neither does real war. Real war never changes, Jim.